Awesome. Well, let me kick off. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this session about marketplace strategies for 2026. Today, we're going to focus on what's actually changing in e-commerce, how brands can build a smarter, stronger, more scalable marketplace strategy for the year ahead. This is me. I head up Matt and head up North America partnerships here at ChannelEngine. So super excited to guide today's conversation. And this one is fun for me personally because when I think about somebody actually clicking, making a purchase on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the holidays, everything has to line up. You need the right product content at the right price point at exactly the right moment. And you have to be in the right place to win a customer. And then, of course, you've got to make sure the product actually gets to the customer in a timely fashion and meets their expectations. And I think today we have some folks on the line with me who touch a little bit of all of those segments. And so very excited to introduce our panelists today, Jorrit, Bryan, and Andreas. Maybe just a quick intro to you, who you are, and the companies you represent. Jorrit, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Excited to be here. So I'm Jorrit Steinz, the founder and CEO of ChannelEngine, and ChannelEngine is a marketplace integration and management solution. So we help brands and retailers to connect, optimize, and scale on more than 1,300 marketplaces worldwide. And it's great to be in this call together with two of our main partners that can really help our customers scale and fill that gap to make sure our customers are really agile and being able to connect to multiple marketplaces internationally as well. So excited about this webinar.
Cool. Bryan, how about you?
Hi, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, as it may be for those in Europe. Bryan Fucetola, Director of Network Growth and Success here at Salsify. Basically, as my title implies, my purview and my team's purview is growing our expansive network globally, but also ensuring that those endpoints are successful, as well as the brands being successful in getting product content and information in front of consumers to make informed purchasing decisions. So pleasure to meet everybody. Excited for a great conversation.
Andreas, last but not least.
I'll take over. Thanks, Matt. I'm Andreas. I'm from ZEOS, which actually stands for Zalando's e-commerce operating system. So we're Zalando's dedicated B2B unit, focusing on building the operating system for fashion and lifestyle in Europe, which means we're essentially externalizing our capabilities that we've built up as Zalando over the years, and give our partners, brands and retailers, access to that infrastructure, technology, the capabilities to really create a more consistent experience across the different channels, be it their own.com, be it different marketplaces. And really excited to join this discussion today.
Awesome. So in this discussion, we're going to be talking about future-proofing your multi-channel growth, understanding where e-commerce and marketplaces are headed in 2026, how strategy, data, and operations have to come together in order for you to stay ahead. A quick housekeeping note before we dive in. At the end of the session, the panelists are going to share the key takeaways, and we're going to open to live Q&A. But we want a lively chat, so feel free to drop your questions, comments in the chat at any time. We'll try to pick them up as we go, so please do jump in and join the conversation. We want to start with a poll to try to understand a little bit more about what your focus is, and we'll try to weave that into the discussion. So tell us, what best describes your 2026 marketplace strategy and focus? Is it optimizing performance on current channels, expanding to new marketplaces, regions, focusing on implementing AI and automation, diversifying beyond marketplaces, improving profitability, or are you just still exploring what direction to take? We'll give you about a minute or so to answer, but I already see that there's a bunch of folks that are optimizing performance on channels, expanding into marketplaces, and focusing on improving profitability, which I think we'll absolutely touch on in the session. Maybe just 15 more seconds or so. Yeah, see, there's some clear leaders that are starting to emerge, right? New marketplaces and new regions, and Andreas is going to have a lot to say about that at some point because it creates a little complexity from a logistics perspective. So I want to touch on the past, right? And this year, what we're living right now, in order to look at marketplace evolution, growth patterns. Let's think about 2025 is not just another year in e-commerce, right? AI has changed discovery, operations have become more complex, and I think sellers have had to really react quickly. I'd love to hear from the panelists what stood out for each of you. And I want to start with Bryan, because I know you spend a lot of time with major retailers and brands. You've got a close view on how product discovery is shifting. Can you explain maybe what's happening in the space and what sellers need to know? And I think you've got a slide maybe with some fun stats as well.
Yeah, Matt, happy to jump in here. Just finished up a world tour meeting with some of the world's top grocers and quick commerce endpoints and the like. And there are a few themes that came to fruition from those conversations. And I'll share those in a minute, but I just kind of want to ground us in terms of where we are today, right? And we're not entering a third era of shopping led by AI. We are there, right? And so we've gone from era 1, era 2, quickly to era 3. And if we look back, era 1 was really about in-store execution, shelf placement, packaging. Merchandisers had the power for retail execution, right? Shelf space, photography, planogramming, and premium signage. That was how you engaged consumers. And then the digital shelf really came into the fray, I would say right around COVID, where it accelerated. And consumers were shopping online, making decisions based off of PDPs and the content shared there. Technology was pivoting to product experience management, powering content across all the endpoints where a consumer could discover, research, and purchase a product. And retailers and brands were really focused in on digital shelf optimization, brands getting better at delivering content that engaged consumers on that path to purchase online, mirroring in-store execution. But now in this new era, it's reshaping everything, right? And it's accelerating really quickly. And consumers aren't just browsing on PDPs, they're chatting with agents. And decisions are happening in real time, sometimes outside of traditional PDPs, product detail pages. And the brand agents and advisors are actually influencing that moment of choice. So this new era, what we're seeing, Matt, and everybody here, is that it requires new infrastructure. It requires a slightly nuanced way of thinking, because merchandising is happening in real time, often outside of a retailer or a brand's direct control. So the content needs to be agent ready. It needs to be personalized. It needs to be dynamic. And this is where agentic PXM is really coming in to the fray, because you are trying not only now to engage from a search engine optimization standpoint, but answer engine optimization. So you got to take into account personalization and the personas that you're selling to, right? Traditionally, there's been 8, right? But now it's about understanding that persona more deeply and the outcomes that they're looking to drive to. So when they're searching, it's not on traditional platforms of like, hey, help me find an umbrella. It's help me find an umbrella that's indestructible, that's going to cover me in the rain, and that's going to add more value to my life in some way, shape, or form. And oh, by the way, I'm a male, 38 years old, and I travel frequently into New York City. So I need it to be ready for the city, ready for the elements, and ready for life. So these retailers and these brands are rethinking the way that they engage, because they understand that those LLMs are going to drive traffic, right? And year over year, what we've seen is a 3,300% increase driven to endpoint sites, whether it's retailers or marketplaces, by these LLMs. And as a matter of fact, in this holiday shopping time frame, consumers like you or I, about 42% of us are using those LLMs as the initial search point. And so while you were trying to beat the algorithm on marketplaces and sites and be in the top 5 or just on that main page, these LLMs are surfacing 3 options when they give that feedback to you. So now it's about how do you engage those agents in a more meaningful way to get your products front and center to the consumer.
I know I was using them. Jorrit, I'd love your take on impact on marketplace visibility here. And from the poll, it looks like folks are really trying to understand how to expand in new marketplaces or regions. So if you can tie that in, it'd be great.
Yes, of course, a lot of things have been happening. So the shift to more marketplace and regions has been happening over the last decade, but especially accelerating the last few years with smaller marketplaces and niche marketplaces popping up. But on the marketplace themselves, it's always challenging to get your products found. So retail media comes in, search engine optimization within these marketplaces come in. But also these marketplaces have been driven by AI for a very long time. First was machine learning, and now agentic or more the generative AI comes in with, for instance, Rufus on Amazon driving almost 40% of the decisions already on Amazon. But also decisions are now more and more being made and discoveries more done outside of marketplaces. ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini, and they all scrape information from the marketplace. They all scrape information from Reddit, your D2C site, etc. So it's super important to have consistency in your product information. So not only rely on the information that your resellers are putting out there, which is typically not complete enough, but making sure there's way more context. Like Bryan said, what do you use it for? What is it best for? What are the qualities? So it's sort of a Q&A style. Get as much of that information in your D2C site on marketplaces and then directly feed it into the LLMs. And I think what stood out for me is that AI is basically an accelerator of a lot of things, but it also accelerates the insight into where the gaps are, because you immediately see where the gaps are in information, where the gaps are in your infrastructure. So things are moving so rapidly. So if you're not prepared well with the right content, with the right infrastructure to synchronize it to all the different channels across the globe, then AI will find it, will find outdated information, which means people base their decisions on wrong information. And if we don't update the stock and availability and shipment information fast enough, then they will have a bad experience. So AI is basically showing the gaps quicker. And we're very much in the early innings of the AI discovery, because it's only 5% of traffic on the LLMs is now product related, but the better the results are on the LLMs, the more people will use it. So there's going to be a massive battle in 2027, 26 and 7. So brands and retailers need to prepare their infrastructure and their content.
Yeah. I think one of the things that you alluded to is this more places that quality data needs to be, and ultimately that means more fragmentation, more regions, more fulfillment challenges. Andreas, I think this might be a time for you to tell us a little bit about maybe what's changed about how brands have approached logistics in 2025 because of these changes.
Yeah, happy to. I think all of the things that were mentioned, right? Driving complexity. I mean, there's a lot of growth opportunities and different levels, but it's hard to crack them. I think what we've seen on the operational side, it also drives operational complexity. And when we think about fragmentation with the number of channels we see in Europe, when we think about market expansions, it's not only important to get kind of the eyes and the clicks on your product, but you also need to have the products available. You need to have them there so they actually show up on the storefront, but also be able to deliver and perform kind of post-purchase. Because what we've also seen, I think that's a take that with that fragmentation and every marketplace trying to kind of build a loyal customer base themselves, they also put a lot of attention on customer experience, on delivery performance. So if you're not able to meet that, you forgo those kind of growth opportunities because you will lose visibility, you will downsort it. So even if you do have the best product content and kind of get the views, if you don't then deliver kind of to the customer, you basically lose a lot of money. And it's interesting, Bryan, when you showed that chart with the 3 kind of errors or those phases, what we've seen, I think, mapping to that is in the past, I think which was more retail driven, a lot of brands, retailers tried to operate it themselves. They had their kind of logistics hubs. They were supplying kind of the stores and then kind of build up some e-commerce or direct to consumer capabilities. Over time, marketplaces increased their requirements. Everybody built up their fulfillment programs. I think Amazon was driving that to a great extent, and also customer behavior was adjusting. What we see now, and that's kind of the if we take stock of the current picture, is there's a lot of fragmentation in the market because basically as a brand, you have to allocate inventory and understand what product, what quantity you want to sell on which channel. And if you don't get it right, and I think what we've seen is that pre-season planning is really hard to do So you need to be fast and rather react. But once you have allocated that inventory, it's hard to pull it out. So what happens is you either run excessive stock, you need to discount it and lose margin, or you're running out of inventory and you're losing sales, right? And that's, I think you'll hear that later when we think about the strategies going forward. What we're really driving is this unification. Like the answer to that complexity is unification or simplification, bring everything back together under one roof, or at least virtually, and build that common or consolidated stock pool. Because then you don't have to make those decisions up front, but rather optimize for the search, make the sales, and then have the inventory available no matter which channel.
Yeah, and it seems like there's, from the talk track so far, maybe some common success patterns. I'd love to hear maybe more about those, but also maybe where did brands lose on opportunities this year? I think there's always something to be gained from learning perspective there. Maybe start with Jorrit.
Yeah, I think so. Success patterns. What I've seen over the years is a lot of companies, like Andreas said, started doing it themselves. I would never recommend doing direct-to-consumer fulfillment themselves. You will never win that game against professional players. So utilize the systems that are out there, multi-channel fulfillment solutions, 3PLs, to make sure you have a consolidated stock location. So what I've seen happening this year is, with the companies that are doing super well, they approach the multi-channel very strategically. So earlier on was more opportunistic, let's sell something on Amazon, etc. And now it's a strategic choice. So they set up the foundation very well, make sure they buy enough inventory allocated to marketplaces, and then scale quickly. I've seen companies earlier on scale super quickly without having the foundations in place. So they're really leveraging automation. And that's the only way you can do it, because typically most companies have too smaller teams. So even companies with 6,000 employees hire a marketplace team of 3, and then expect them to drive a strategic priority, which is all these different sales channels. So they're leveraging automation super well. That's an important one. But one thing without automation is that they work as one team. So that's a combination of what I've seen successfully versus the pitfalls. A lot of brands still have that conflict internally between the B2B vendor teams versus the D2C seller teams. In my opinion, they should be unified in their internal incentives as well. For instance, if Amazon buys products or Zalando buys products, but they won't buy your full selection, you need to be able to sell on the marketplace as a seller. And that needs to be combined in one team, in one P&L top line. I think that's the biggest hurdle, bottleneck, with internal teams combating overstock, which is basically misaligned because somebody internally has a wrong incentive, or is incentive only on B2B, and they see D2C as competition instead of augmenting their total company strategy. So aligning internal strategy, if you do that well, on top of that, have a very good automation layer, very good logistics layer, and very good content layer, you can win this game. But without doing that strategically, you are going to lose. And I see companies with a lot of momentum, and I see others just taking months to make a decision on even implementing one channel.
Yeah, Bryan, I'd love your take on this as well.
Jorrit hit the nail on the head. In terms of the fact that there's been this disjointedness for several years, right? Silos, right? And teams with competing priorities internally. At the end of the day, consumers are not looking at one team or another. They're looking at the brand and the company as a whole, and the quality of the product and value that it brings them, right? And so this is where we always advise brands that we work with that they need to unify how they think about product data. Take an omni-channel approach, right? Understand that 73% of consumers are going to use multiple channels to shop, right? Harvard Business Review has that well documented. And they're actually 3 times more likely to purchase when engaged by those multiple channels. So the stronger your omni-channel program is internally, the better you're going to execute outside, because as a whole, because you're going to have consistent information, you're going to have consistent product content, you're going to provide a consistent brand experience that engages that consumer, right? So to Jorrit's point, you need to embed that belief, and it's got to be a top-down and bottoms-up belief that is really that is really executed against. Because the flip side is this, right? When you get it wrong, here's why bad data is bad for business, right? 67% of consumers, if they've got a poor purchase experience because of inconsistent data or incomplete data, because internally you don't have your stuff together and aligned to provide that consistency, 67% are walking away, and 86% of those are unlikely to buy products from you next time, right? So not only does that inconsistency and disjointedness internally affect the initial purchasing experience, it affects the ability to have repeat buyers and loyalty. In addition to things like supply chain waste, which Andreas can kind of talk through, because that is an impact as well. Not enough just to sell it, you got to get it there to that consumer. So to Jorrit's point, if you don't have a consistent omni-channel execution strategy internally, set that up. Put strong data governance in place, drive that consistency, and drive more conversion.
Yeah. So I think if I'm summing up 2025, obviously the discussion has been great, but silos internally are bad, right? If you want sales, it's not just about adding more channels, but connecting to the right channels. Got to have clean data, strong content, flexible operations. And I'd love to segue 2025 and now to 2026, right? So marketplace priorities moving forward. I think as brands are planning for 2026, priorities are clearly shifting. Let's talk about where you see teams investing, where they should be looking. Maybe what are some of the most important priorities and investments you're seeing? Andreas, I'd love to kick off with you, chatting through cross-border readiness, maybe some operational capabilities as well.
Yes. And maybe also to connect it, because I really like your statement, and I agree. I think it was also a comprehensive view. I think approaching those discussions strategically is super important. And what we've seen, and maybe to add that on the Zalando platform or on the channel, is brands that moved from a wholesale more to a kind of marketplace model. On the one hand side, it's a risk, right? It's kind of cash flow. It's a different model, and historically, some of the brands don't have that muscle, right? So certainly there's a risk, but what you can gain is control over assortment, pricing, and a lot of content, and kind of build up brand equity, not only on the channel, but also then for your own D2C business. So what we've seen brands investing into building up that capability, either through externals first or over time, they have really kind of accelerated and outgrew their historic, let's say, wholesale business. So that's why we really believe in this dynamic of the marketplace. And I think to your question now, also strategies going forward, that diversification is key, that you're able to play different channels, that you're able to kind of tap into growth pockets. We see Eastern Europe with much stronger growth rates. So also understanding what regions actually drive growth and where you want to play is super important. And it's not about being everywhere and anywhere. It's really also a strategic choice, which channel you want to kind of be on, where does your brand fit, and also think about life cycle of products, where we look at some of the, let's say, full price channels to introduce new assortment, newness, but also if it doesn't turn, if you don't sell it through, understanding how you can use off-price channels, for example, for kind of selling through some inventory to not sit on it and instead of having to liquidate it afterwards. So I think that's a strategic choice, and still this diversification is key, and being able to play different channels. And I think the other part which comes with diversification is also localization. So what we see, again, more on the operation side, there are different countries with very different customer expectations. When you look at delivery options, we see some countries with cash on delivery. In the Nordics, they want to have kind of pickup points. And in Germany, it's still kind of majority driven by home delivery. So it's really hard for a brand, if you want to do that on your own, to then have the network to reach those countries, but also to have carrier integrations, to have delivery options, to offer that to your customers or to the marketplace. So that's why, coming back to the idea, I think for us, the strategy and what we work on with our partners is giving them access to a broader network so they have the reach, and giving them all that complexity, but at a very easy way to tap into it, right? If they integrate through a partner on the marketplace, but also with ZEOS in our case, for them it's plug and play. So they can easily add more channels and add more countries with like very low incremental cost or effort, and basically get best of both worlds. It's simple for them, but they still have the scale and the reach, and basically all the requirements are covered. So that's, I think, what's our answer to solving for that complexity and really leveraging those opportunities in the market.
Yeah, how about Bryan? I know digital shelf-wise, consistency across these channels. How does that play into the mix?
Sorry, just coming off mute. Consistency is going to be king. When I think about the conversations I've had over the past few weeks, there's a few things that, again, that kind of summarize where people are putting their investments for the future. One is speed to market. Every additional day that a product is live is a sellable day, right? It means more revenue. But they're focused more importantly on conversion optimization, traffic, and then conversion optimization, right? So consumers going to those endpoints, finding their products, and then making that investment or purchase in their product. So what they're looking at is not only SEO friendly content and the quality of that, but AEO ready content. So answer engine optimization, which is ready for the conversational agents. So making sure that the data that you're providing solves for those two things there. And then strong personalization at scale is going to be key, right? Understanding the personas that purchase your product, making sure that there's the right data there that helps them make that informed decision as to why your product is their best choice. And then a lot of what's driving this is people are taking a look and they're saying, hey, we've got too much data in too many different places. How do we consolidate tech stack to drive the efficiency, to then drive that speed to market and consistency of that data from an SEO and AEO ready standpoint? Because it also helps them mitigate risk, right? So as they are centralizing that product data, as they're driving automation, there's less risk of that content being wrong and more of an ability to put yourself in a position to drive higher shopper trust, loyalty, and ultimate purchase of your product. So it also drives the differentiation, which helps as well. So I think when we summarize it, the three areas are consolidation of tech stack to get better data out there, driving traffic and conversion, and driving that in a way where you really understand your consumers are putting the best data out there to elicit that purchase. So if folks are not doing that right now or not thinking about that as part of their strategy, they should be, and there's still time to kind of make those adjustments, Matt.
Yeah, Jorrit, I don't know if you saw Rebecca's question, but maybe you can answer it.
Yeah,
okay.
It really ties into a topic I had in mind as well.
Perfect.
We're always talking about online. I heard Bryan talking about offline stores as well. And I think one thing a lot of brands forget is that you can leverage marketplaces to position your brand also in new regions internationally between other well-known brands. And we've seen that drive a halo effect of traffic within the physical stores where you approach that. For instance, US brand, fashion brands starting selling in Germany for the first time, leveraging Zalando, optimizing for content. And if they then launch physical stores, you will see more traffic in the physical stores as well because the brand becomes more well-known. So I think that's definitely something important. Then how do they match the performance of brick and mortar stores? Depends on how you define performance, but selling well, I think marketplaces are a giant search engine. So you need to optimize your content. You need to do advertising, retail media to do it well, and then really strategically choose which products am I gonna push on those marketplaces to drive the sales velocity. So front load your marketing investments to drive sales velocity on the marketplace so the algorithm picks it up and you will be found and discovered within these marketplaces. Of course, optimization for the answer engines, making sure you are really found. And then not just discoverability, that's this part, but also having the right price consistency across different channels against competition. So automate and optimize your price. As well as availability, because you can be found, but if your product is not available and not shipped fast, then you're losing out in that sense as well. And that expectation is very high, both in the US as well as across Europe, Southeast Asia. So we're going to a lot of same day delivery or at least next day delivery with a very late cutoff time. So the game is on to do that well, and that also ties into the algorithm on the marketplace. If you ship fast with high consistency, your product will be found easier in the search engines of the marketplace. And in terms of the more fashion marketplaces, the algorithms are more geared toward fresh and new assortments, new collections. So these things really need to tie into each other. And if you have a small team, you need to automate all that stuff. One thing is important, there is also a next wave of marketplaces coming. So I know multiple Chinese companies, international companies moving very quickly with a lot of budget into Europe, into North America, establishing new marketplaces. So there's both an opportunity as well as a threat. So if you don't do this well, you're losing out. And naturally, we're talking about agentic commerce. ChatGPT checkout is there already. It's early phases. Perplexity has a checkout as well. Gemini is coming, Copilot. One thing a lot of companies forget, so you can tie into these interfaces. So we built these integrations as well. But you want to make sure you are strategic about which stock are you allocating to your own D2C shop. Marketplaces, agentic commerce. So do you want to sell to zero on ChatGPT, or do you still want to have 100 units in stock for your own D2C shop? Otherwise, you have a very empty D2C shop experience. Or do you want to prioritize Amazon or Walmart or Zalando or Zalora or any of the other marketplaces? So really strategically optimizing for availability, content consistency, and price is key. And that's an interesting challenge while staying profitable across all these different channels. So it's not easy, but it is doable.
And you're asking a lot of very challenging questions for the audience, right? And these are things you don't want to think through yourself, and you don't want to throw a dart against the dartboard to fine tune, right? There are specialists that to chat with, right? That would be more than happy to walk you all through some of these areas and what might be best for your business. I'd love to maybe flip in. I know we've chatted a little bit about action, but I think at a higher level, what we've chatted about is a lot of the strategy. So how do we shift from this strategy to execution? What are some of the practical steps that maybe a seller can take to simplify operations, improve visibility across these channels in 2026? Maybe Andreas, start with you. Transparency, stock pools. How do you reduce friction for these sellers?
So I think the name of the game is multi-channel or even omnichannel, if you then also think about the retail kind of network. But multi-channel allows you a couple of things that we discussed earlier, what brands are struggling with if they do it on their own. And there's a couple of programs out there and service providers. And I can speak for ourselves, right? It's really something we're doubling down on and creating really a frictionless kind of operating system for partners, so they can also provide this consistent experience to customers, irrespective of which channel. And again, that includes their own web shop, their own .com as another channel. So customers get delighted by the same experience. And I think that's the physical side or the logistics side. Coming with cross-border logistics, having international kind of networks to leverage, to fulfill their speed promises that Jorrit mentioned, but also to keep still everything connected, so you don't have to split stock and create inefficiencies in your network. I think the other side that complements this is the technology side and technology stack on top of it. So just wanted to give 2 or 3 examples how we deal with it and what we're trying to offer to our partners and brands, how to make use of that. One topic is like replenishment tools. I think if you have this D2C business and if you want to react quickly to customer demand, it's important that you replenish the items quickly and kind of in the right location at the right time, bring them back online as fast as possible. And you can't do that up front, because then you have a lot of inventory building up, a lot of storage costs. That's not very efficient. And then you have also high inventory risk, high working capital tied up. But if you're able in season to replenish quickly, and there's a lot of customer signals that you can leverage. You see kind of items that are being bought. You have a lot of data points, trends on the marketplace, forecasts, and that's something we are doing because with Zalando, right? In Europe, we have quite vast data of kind of buying behaviors, but also signals and trends to help partners and say what's going to be hot, what items are needed. Also factoring in returns, right? What's still kind of floating around, coming back to the network, so you don't kind of bring inventory that's anyway still available or will be available soon. So replenishment recommendations, tools to make it easier for partners. I think the other piece is what we call ring fencing. So if you make all of your stock available for all of the marketplaces, that's great, but you want to be strategic about it. And I think we heard it before, right? If stock is running low, you don't want to sell it out on the least profitable channel. So how can you reserve stock for the most profitable ones or for your own web shops? How can you steer when there's a promotion coming that you have sufficient supply because you spend marketing a dollar? So you want to make sure that you also have the products available to then serve those customers. So that's something that in today or yesterday's world, it's pretty hard to do that manually by allocating stock and shifting that back and forth, or trying to do that manually by putting in buffers or kind of interfering with the inventory data. And that's where a lot of tools also, again, here that there's AI helping us with making the right choices, smart decisions, and doing so very fast with like a lot of data that we can leverage. But it's something, again, if you try to build it up, similar to the logistics side, if you try to build it up yourself, it's very complicated. You don't have enough inputs, you don't have the same data, and you don't have the capabilities and resources to build it. So there are kind of specialists out there that can do that and help you kind of accelerate and get much more speed in becoming better.
Yeah, I think scaling comes to mind as you go through that, and automation. I think we're all being asked to do more with less. Maybe Jorrit, how do you approach that, or in conversations with customers, doing more scaling with automation?
Yeah, so we've been investing over a decade in automating stuff that's repetitive. It's getting easier now with generative AI, also with things like getting your content mapped, make sure the attributes are mapped, and all the stuff that is annoying. And generative AI can definitely help accelerate there. I think it's super important to get the right infrastructure. And I cannot emphasize it enough, because I see too many times companies saving on that, and then going to market expecting a fast rollout to different marketplaces, and then being stuck in an operational mess. Stock not being updated, having shipments that are stuck, and a bad customer experience. So unifying operations essential, especially if you go across different geographies, different languages, currencies, countries, different shipping locations. And like Andreas said, rebalancing your stock with replenishments. Just utilize service providers that have the systems already in place, so you don't have to invest in it. Just utilize those networks, whether it's a ZEOS or Amazon multichannel fulfillment or Walmart's multichannel fulfillment. You can leverage those networks that have been built with hundreds of millions over the years. So just use it. So there's no reason not to be able to capture all these different channels if you choose the right partners.
Yeah, that's helpful. Maybe Bryan, I think segue to you here. Understanding product data at the end of this is pretty core to this. How and really AI-powered discovery. How do you prepare that product data using a tool like Salsify, for instance?
Yeah, so I can share a bit about how brands navigate that, or have navigated, and will continue to navigate leveraging Salsify. So first and foremost, it's making sure you've got an aggregated source of truth. That by no means you've got to get rid of tools that your organization is used to leveraging. Maybe those are your golden record for certain pieces of digital assets or certain supply chain or logistics information. But the way we think about Salsify is we can act as your PIM, but really what product experience management is the ability to be an aggregated source of truth, a system of record, a system of transformation, and then a system of syndication, right? And so, how many of our brands leverage us is as that aggregated source of truth and system of transformation. And we've got workflows in place that can connect teams throughout the organization. So when we think about that one team approach and that omnichannel approach, folks that would touch a piece of data that could be used for omnichannel, right, and different endpoints, right, can engage and make sure that there's consistency and quality of that product information and content, and that it's transformed into a way that's going to be meaningful for how it shows up on those endpoints that you share it within. Additionally, we've embedded AI into our product experience management tool, so it's going to help do some of those data quality checks that may happen downstream or may get missed upstream, and be an incremental check there to ensure the consistency, to ensure the quality, and ensure that the digital information shared is a representation of that product in real life, right? And so, that's going to be key, right? So when we talk about driving efficiencies, with the end goal of being higher conversion in sales, it starts with having that kind of source of truth, and making sure that you're getting everybody on the same page and aligned to move not only with intentionality, but with speed and precision.
Super helpful. From a timing perspective, I think it's probably best if we open up now to some questions from the audience. I think we did have some wonderful practical steps that sellers can take to improve their strategy in 2026. Before we answer any of these, we're going to send out an accompanying guide after the session. So 10 pillars for marketplace growth in 2026 as an early holiday gift from our teams. But maybe let's take a couple questions from the audience, and would love to see what you all think.
Yeah, so maybe for Rebecca. So we have the 10 pillars of marketplace growth to perform on the marketplace. But we also talk to our team. Absolutely happy to help. We've got some amazing agencies in different regions that are super specialized. So sometimes there's super big agencies, but there are also very specialized niche agencies that truly know how to optimize on marketplace. And my advice would be pick a selection out of your full assortment and fully optimize that selection for your brand. Don't try to optimize all your products, but really focus on some key products. Work together. So if you guys are in fashion, work together with the team of Zalando to optimize your promotions and do that well. Any other questions?
Yeah,
answers.
I mean, I'm feeling more confident after listening to you guys about headed into 2026. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, because you're using our solution.
I know it well. I know a guy.
No questions at all. I cannot believe that.
We must have done a really good job.
I just nailed it.
Or completely confused everyone.
Right.
Either way, we're here to help. Either way, we're here to help. So. Yeah, so I think just want to thank the audience, thank everyone for coming out. Hopefully you feel a little bit more confident headed into 2026, areas to focus on. And if you do need any help whatsoever trying to understand, dive into these questions, it looks like we've got a question. Thoughts about different approaches, Amazon versus Walmart and Target?
Different approaches. Yeah, it depends on your product. But definitely, if your product fits the target audience on all three, make sure you are available with a complete assortment and optimized contents on all three. Because different consumers shop on different platforms. Make sure that the prices are consistent. So you can optimize them all at the same time, leveraging same inventory levels, whether it's your own 3PL. You can even have Amazon multi-channel fulfillment ship for Walmart and Target. And you can have Walmart multi-channel fulfillment ship for Amazon and for Target. So utilize the technologies that are out there. There's no reason not to do all of them.
I like maybe this one last question. So someone's implemented Salsify. How do you leverage ChannelEngine or ZEOS to drive more profitability? Who wants that one?
Yeah, happy to chime in, and the others can help there. So Salsify feeds all the content into ChannelEngine, and ChannelEngine can syndicate the content to the different requirements of the different marketplaces and optimize that. So all these different content sources, the Bryan is gathering from the whole organization into one unified solution, optimizing with AI, is fed into ChannelEngine. We're using AI to transform into what needs to be mapped to the different categories, attributes, etc. on the marketplaces in different languages. So you don't even need to know that language. And that allows you to scale to the different marketplaces. And where ZEOS comes in, is you don't have to have so much more money on the balance sheet to have multiple stock locations, multiple inventory, multiple stock locations where you don't know where you're going to sell. So ZEOS is the multi-channel fulfillment solution, especially across your profession. Just leverage that to be able to sell on the different fashion-related marketplaces.
Yeah. Last one. So I think maybe you were talking about choosing the right marketplaces. I mean, we all have. You mentioned 1,300 channels globally. Brand fit is a factor. How do you decide which ones are right for your brand? Is kind of how I'm interpreting that question.
A few options, and happy to hear the other guys as well. The brand fit. Look at what your sales point. So look at the brand adjacency. What other brands are selling there, and does it make sense to have your product there? So it can be if you have a very high price point, maybe don't start selling on Target, or if you have a very low price point, don't start selling on very luxury marketplaces. It's also more operationally, can you actually deliver in these marketplaces to the countries they're serving? So those are important. And do these marketplaces actually have GMVs, a consistent number of customers? Sometimes customers have a different target audience, so we have some information to share there as well. Different demographics on different marketplaces. So sometimes certain styles, we have customers that sell all their assortment on 3 different marketplaces that are in the same country, and different items to sell on different marketplaces because there's different target audience with different taste. Can be older demographic, younger demographic. So leverage those as well. And I see Andreas nodding. You want to chime in?
Agreed. I think those are valid points. I think the other piece is also the question on how many different marketplaces you want or can operate, because it comes with kind of additional effort, right? In terms of, as you said, right assortment strategy, pricing, keep that updated. So even though a couple of things can be made easy and unified, we'll talk logistics, what I mentioned earlier, there's still effort needed to operate the marketplace. So I think also making a wise choice on which ones bring the most value, where there's the best customer fit, addressable market. And I think the regional component is also an important one, that you actually see some potential there.
Yeah, and like you mentioned earlier, is it a new collection or is it maybe overstock? And then there's some amazing closed marketplaces where you can get rid of your overstock.
Lean on your partners, right? Bryan, Jorrit, Andreas, we're all here to help you through these questions. I think maybe we'll put a wrap on the marketplace strategy for 2026. Thank you everyone for joining, and happy upcoming holidays. And we're here to help. Thanks for joining.
Thanks a lot.